I'm on the campus of Andrews University, and my guest is Dr. Andrew Tompkins, who is the Assistant Professor of World Mission in the Department of World Mission. Is that close enough? Andrew, you are the newest staff member, I guess, faculty member in this department. Why does the Department of World Mission exist?
Well, there are a wide variety of reasons, but I think as a church we've recognized that reflection on mission is many times as important as the actual doing of mission. Because over time we do different things, we try different things, but we don't always reflect on what we're doing, and having a department is there to help us think about what we're doing.
Good. Now, you've just completed a PhD dissertation. How did going through this process of reflection make a difference for you?
Yeah, so two ways. Number one, my dissertation itself came out of my experience in mission, in practical experience, especially in India. But by coming here and reflecting on that, I was able to grapple with some of the more challenging issues I had faced and start to think of solutions that we can now try in the field as we train other people. So I think it does help a great deal.
Wonderful. Now, describe the type of students that you teach. Who are the people who come here?
Yeah. So by teaching at the seminary, we actually get almost all future pastors for the North America division. Plus, we get a wide variety of master's students from around the world who choose to come here from various backgrounds. Not all will be pastors even. And then we have doctoral students who will be teaching mission. So we're getting mostly pastors and future teachers, along with some who will be chaplains as well.
Wonderful. Now, you mentioned that your period of reflection with your dissertation came from your mission experience. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I lived in India a number of years, did a wide variety of things, but one of my greatest interests and challenges was how do we engage with people who don't follow Jesus, who don't use the Bible as a source of authority, which there are many in India. And as I lived there and those were my neighbors, I interacted with them and I started planting churches among people from this background. I was able to learn many things about how God works in people outside of the church walls before we get there. And then how can I partner with God in sharing my faith? And through that I learned a lot, and then I've come and reflected on some of the challenges that were more difficult to deal with.
When we look at cross-cultural communication and cross-cultural mission, what are some of the key things we need to keep in mind?
Well, there's a large number of things. Obviously, as a professor, that's one of our most, challenging issues to bring before students is we can't just assume everyone will experience God the same way, that it's even necessary for them all to experience God the same way. We need to recognize that tensions will come from people even within the same faith community, like Seventh-day Adventists, just because they come from different parts of the world. They have different practices, different ways of thinking. And all of that can create tensions, but also beautiful possibilities for thinking about God and seeing God in new ways.
Now, when you think back on your experience, what did you learn from perhaps even some mistakes you might have made?
Yeah, I made many mistakes. I had to learn a lot about patience, especially was a big thing. I tended to assume I knew everything, potentially, but at least that I knew more than the people I was with. In India, for example, and oftentimes it was the opposite. They knew much more about a local situation and issue, and I had to learn to patiently listen and to allow them to teach me. Many times we assume missions is about us going to teach others, which that can be part of the journey, but oftentimes you end up being someone who receives mission back towards you from those wherever you're going.
Now, in popular culture here in North America and many other places, when people think of missionaries, it's often in very negative terms. And so in the media, in literature, missionaries are derided because they take all this cultural baggage, they're colonialist, etc., etc. How do we defend the missionary enterprise in today's world?
Well, I think part of it is admitting there have been mistakes in the past. Some of those fears are valid because things have been done poorly at times, where colonialistic, imperialistic attitudes have existed among missionaries. So admitting that is the start, and then really looking at mission. I use the word even intercultural instead of cross-cultural because it's about going and seeing people and starting to journey together. And yes, I have a faith journey that may be longer than someone else's, and so I have something to share. But at the same time, mission is really journeying together with people in faith and sharing new things and then receiving back new ideas. And it's getting people to see that can start to overcome some of the baggage, the history.
So what are the positive contributions that missionaries make?
I think they often bring an outside eye to situations where people within a certain community don't recognize what they're doing as even an issue or a challenge. They bring a new understanding of God that wouldn't be there if they weren't there. And so without some sort of cross-cultural, intercultural interaction, all of us would potentially be stunted in our spiritual growth and faith. And then there are places where people haven't heard much about Jesus, and of course someone must go there from outside.
How did you first become involved in mission? Why did you get involved?
Well, I don't know that I have one moment, but I've often had interest in learning from other people from cultures different than my own background. And out of that, along with my faith, I think it was almost natural that I would end up going places and meeting people and being involved in cross-cultural mission. And that happened when I was in academy even. So it's been a long time process.
How do we keep a mission focus, Andrew?
Oh my. Well, having a missions department doesn't hurt at the seminary, but I think ultimately it does come down to us as individuals. If we really experience Jesus, I don't see why you wouldn't want to share that with others. And so if you're not interested in sharing with others, I would question even your own experience with Jesus. For me, it's almost natural to want to reach out. But it does help when you have a community around you who is intentionally talking about and demonstrating mission. That can help some of the people who are having a harder time.
Terrific. Thank you so much for sharing with us
Thank you.
today. Viewers at home, please pray for the Department of World Mission here, as Andrew has reminded us, touching the lives of many pastors who will then go out into the field and have tremendous influence throughout the world.